All right, all right. Hello, all you sports fans out there in podcast land, and welcome once again to another edition of Babbling Brooks, your new favorite podcast, where I, your host Brooks, try to bring you some of today's sports news with just a little twist of my point of view. Hope you're all having a wonderful start to the week so far. Pretty good here in the A. It is hot as a hell, though, that's for sure. After it went back down into the 80s, cooled down a little bit. Maybe even a couple times it was in the 70s when it rained, at least. But it's back in the 90s, pushing 100 and at least feeling like 100 pretty much every day. So, hey, man, it's summer in Atlanta. It's hot. It's humid. At least it ain't 120 degrees like it is in Phoenix. That's for damn sure. But hey, man, today you're here to listen to me talk about the Braves, so we'll get right into that. Maybe we'll touch a little bit on some football news. We'll see what's going on in the world there. And, of course, it is today, 6 p.m., the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Do the Braves, does Alex Anthopoulos have any more moves to make? I would not be surprised. Honestly, at this point, I'd be less surprised if we don't have any. I think there's going to be at least one more move. Not saying it's good. I don't think it'll be anything major, but I think Alex will make one or two little moves, just kind of shore up, some to give us a little depth. I'm not really sure how that's going to go. I mean, I like the last trade. I talked about Taylor Hearn, who we traded. We got him in exchange for cash considerations, whatever that means. I guess we bought the rights to him. And then we traded him almost immediately after he had one not-so-great performance where he got one out, gave up a couple runs for the Braves, and so they immediately sent him down to AAA. And then, hey, might as well trade him, right? If you send him to AAA, and to get a player like Nicky Lopez, who can play pretty much any position except for catcher or pitcher. He even started his first career game at first base pretty recently before getting traded. Didn't expect to be traded. I saw he was saying he hopes he has to reschedule his wedding because it's November 2nd. And he's like, well, when my girl asked me, I was like, yeah, there's no issues. The Royals were, even before the season, the Royals knew they weren't going to the World Series. I mean, everybody thinks they have a chance. They say at the beginning of the year. Pretty sure the Royals were one of the teams who, we're unless Salvador Perez hits 70 home runs, we're not going to the World Series. So that so that's one of the good and bad things, I guess. Technically, kind of bad because you have to reschedule your wedding, but good because it could be for the World fucking Series. I think that would be worth it. Even he was like, yeah, I think my girl understand that because you get that World Series money, baby. I think you do at least, right? Anyway, so I think that's a good move getting Nicky Lopez, especially for a pitcher that we didn't give up any players to get, and we had just demoted to Gwinnett. So great move there. It kind of sucks because that means Charlie Culberson is going back down after all this time back with the team and didn't really do anything. Only had the one at bat, I believe, not getting a lot of chances out there because this is a Braves team. These guys take pride in playing every fucking day if possible. I've been reading a lot about that the last couple of days because sometimes you're like, well, maybe they should rest. But damn, man, these guys want to play. I guess let them play. Maybe you get later in the year, you'll think about giving guys a day off, rest reasons. But not right now, man, especially the way they're talking. Matt Olson, these guys take pride in that. And Brian Snitker likes to keep his guys in there, doesn't like to overreact. A lot of us will be like, why the hell is Marcell Ozuna still in the lineup every day? And then Marcell Ozuna shows us why Brian Snitker had that patience with him. So we did lose Charlie, but we got Nicky Lopez on the team now. Be interesting to see if, it's any different than Charlie. I wouldn't think so. Even though he does have a little more major league hitting experience than Charlie Culberson. He's been a kind of everyday guy. A couple years ago, I think he was either the everyday second baseman or shortstop in Kansas City and had a 300 season. And even when he's not usually going to hit 300, but he has that in his pocket. but mainly he brings not just the versatility, but he's really good at defense, especially like his comfort zone. They're kind of in the middle, second base, shortstop, maybe a little bit of third base, going to be where he is best. So all places where we're like beyond solid. So he's not going to get a lot of time, but maybe he'll get like the occasional replacement at bat. And, you know, everybody needs a day off occasionally as you get to the end of the year. I mean, 162 is a lot of damn games. But, hey, welcome to the club, Nick. And another move that the Braves did, they sent A.J. Smith-Shawver back down because they had to make room for A.J. Minter. Not a bad start in a spot situation the other day for A.J. Smith-Shawver, but did all right. You know what I mean? Did decent, but like not good enough for now. Not enough to be like, this is a guy in our rotation. Send him back down to Gwinnett a little bit for a little more seasoning. And you had to make room for A.J. Minter, and you didn't want to give up any depth in case sometimes there's some stumbles coming back from the injured list. So good to know that was not the case with him. We'll talk more about his scoreless inning in a minute. But first, let's talk about the Braves, who were pretty much scoreless except for one thing. Matt Olson hitting the 200th home run of 2023 for this Braves team. The most before the month of August ever. 32 more than the Dodgers, who have the second most home runs in Major League Baseball this year. That was 36 home runs for Matt Olson, who leads the league, all of the leagues, in RBI and is second in home runs to only one man. And that man is in town, Shohei Ohtani, who did not home run in this game. But if it wasn't for Michael Harris II, he damn sure would have. Michael Harris II didn't do anything at the plate, which was not a just him thing. This was just the Braves in general. This game could not get anything going offensively other than this one home run by Matt Olson. But Michael Harris II, just keep the gift that keeps giving. Like, even though he's 0-for-3 in this game, striking out once, just at least he saved us a run. Or 3 runs, really, because there was a couple guys on base. But reaching over, making the grab on Shohei, what would have been a home run. So that was pretty cool to see. And, because Mikey, man, he brings the web gems, man. This team is so talented. I just feel like he's due. He ended a small hitting streak in this one, but I think he's due to break out, have some big hits coming up forward. Matt Olson, the only Brave with a big hit in this game, and the only Brave with more than one hit in this game. He was 2 of 2 with 2 walks. Only struck out once. So pretty good numbers. Getting on base 4 times, taking himself all the way around the bases 1 time. But other than that, Braves couldn't do shit. Only 2 opportunities with runners in scoring position. Miffed on both of those. One of those was Travis d'Arnaud grounding out with the bases loaded in the 6th inning. Anytime you leave the bases loaded, you're like, damn, man, we just missed some opportunities. Because, like one little single can score 2 runs. It can score you at least 1 run. You get a double, you can clear the bases with this team. But, they, of course, intentionally walked Matt Olson to load the bases. Same thing we did. Not to load the bases. We did intentionally walk Shohei Ohtani as well, getting some boos for that one. Can't blame the fans for booing the intentional walk, but you can't boo Brian Snitker for it either. Like, hey, man, do you really want to do that? But that, of course, was part of an 0-for-4 night for Travis. Not something you're going to see a lot. Usually when he gets his turn behind the dish, he dishes out a little bit at least. So, but he did have one of those, and his defense was a pretty deep out that was a pretty good catch by their outfielder on that one. So it wasn't like it was all his fault. That just means, hey, man, it means Travis will have a big game next time up. I mean, it feels like after this game, everybody's due one. Just the rare game where the offense just goes totally quiet. Like at home, especially. Only 4 hits, total in this game. Matt Olson, of course, had 2. Austin Riley and Marcell Ozuna were both 1 of 4 in this game for the other 2 hits. So, not pretty. But, hey, man, they're just tired. They're going to wake up today and assault the Angels. And one reason maybe the Braves did struggle at the plate, did have to switch up who they were preparing for. Thought it was going to be one guy, and it ended up being Chase Silseth instead. Apparently, Phil Nevin, the manager for the Angels, gave Brian Snicker a call sometime during the day. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, we had to change stuff. Something went wrong with the guy. And good job for Chase Silseth getting a little spot start kind of. It's his 3rd win of the year. He made it through 5 innings, only allowed 3 hits. And, of course, the Matt Olson solo homer. Struck out 4, didn't walk any. And it wasn't like Charlie Morton was terrible. He just, made 3 big mistakes. And they all were turned into solo home runs. He went 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, allowed 3 runs, all on solo homers. 8 strikeouts, though. That's encouraging because his control was pretty questionable last time out. So good to see him at least get the ratio back where you like to see it. 8 strikeouts, only 3 walks. Still stuck at 10 wins after winning a couple in a row there. Now he is 10-9. But we did have some good news on the pitching front. A.J. Minter, like we mentioned before, back from injury, pitched a scoreless 1-hit, 7th inning, struck out 1 guy. Great to have A.J. Minter back in that bullpen. Just not only does it just give us, another quality left-handed pitching arm, which we've struggled with trying to find this year, but he's pretty damn dependable. He'll occasionally give up a run here or there. But for the most part, he's pretty damn good about setting you up for success there in the 8th inning and setting you up for, there you got Raisel Iglesias to come in and close it up. But he also is perfectly capable of closing the game himself occasionally when Iglesias is, unavailable for whatever reason, whether he's just pitched a couple days in a row, had a pitch-heavy inning, or whatever, you've got another option. And Kirby Yates, in the absence of A.J. Minter, I feel like has gotten even better and has shown him capable of being a 3rd option if you gotta have someone else pitch a 9th inning. And that's not the ideal place for Kirby Yates, but he has shown he can do it occasionally. He's still iffy, but feels like he's getting more and more trustworthy in some higher leverage situations. So it's kind of nice to have those options. You got 3 guys that can potentially close the game. Of course, Iglesias, always going to be our hero. But, it's great to have options in this game. There's a lot of fucking games still. Almost a whole basketball season left. Let's go. The other pitchers in this game, Pierce Johnson, after a rough Braves debut, has another great performance in the 8th inning. Showing maybe, hey, he can help out some in these situations too. Probably glad to be out of Coors Field, would have to say. But yeah, he pitched in the 8th, gave up 1 hit, didn't allow nobody to come home, struck out all 3 outs. So very encouraging for him. And I would not be surprised to see another reliever join him because we traded for 2 relievers. Now, we already traded one of them away for some infield depth, which feels like a good move. But we'll see who else is available. I know Barlow with the Royals is someone that's been mentioned. He's on my fantasy team. So I hope he doesn't get traded to the Braves because then he ain't going to be closing games. But I feel like with A.J. Minter coming back and the emergence of Kirby Yates, they're probably not going to give up enough to get Scott or Barlow, whatever his first name is, I always forget. They're probably not going to give up enough because he's the Royals closer, but he's probably on the move as well. But I feel like the Braves are more just trying to maybe get somebody that can eat some innings in the middle. And maybe some of that depends on how they feel about Dylan Lee and how close he is returning to this bullpen. He's been on the 60-day injured list. When he got put on that, it was like not looking good. But there is some good news for Dylan Lee. He is scheduled today to pitch some live batting practice. So he'll be throwing to live hitters as opposed to, dead ones. That'd be, some zombies. So he will be pitching during batting practice today. And if all goes well, he should be en route to Gwinnett, Georgia. And he will be making his rehab appearances. Probably something similar to A.J. Minter, even though he does sometimes, he'll have a higher pitch count than Minter because he does more, instead of doing like a setup or a closer role, he's normally like your middle inning guy. So like Colin McHugh, who struggled recently. Like he's somebody that can eat some innings up. And yeah, he'll have some hiccups here and there, but for the most part is pretty dependable. So it'll be good to have him back for that depth. So I wonder if that could possibly affect how these guys do. Because the problem with it is batting practice, unless they do it real early, probably not, I can see it would be before the deadline. The deadline's at 6 p.m. The Braves game is like 7 something. So, maybe that could change or, whether or not the Braves do a last-second deal for another bullpen arm. Some people are going to wonder about the DH left field side. I don't see them doing a whole lot there because, the team has given up a lot of prospects over the last few years. And I just don't think they want to deplete that anymore unless they need to. Like, it's like a move that would, get them Vaughn Grissom or get rid of Vaughn Grissom. Might be nice, but, is it going to be worth it? Because it's probably going to be a rental. And Grissom is somebody that we can still use. Even though, we look like we're set at shortstop and second base. But he can still potentially become a DH or, slash utility infielder or outfielder or whatever, too. Because I think he can learn to play the outfield. Like, he's got a bat. Knows how to use it, seems like. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Because I would like to see the Braves improve. But the thing is, there's not a whole lot of room for improvement. Yeah, you can always get better, but at what cost? I mean, do you really want to mess with this team's chemistry more than necessary? So that's why I believe it'll be like a peripheral move, unless somehow somebody offers him something good for Ozuna, which I don't see happening, because they would get us out of some money to spend next year. But the thing is, as soon as you give up on Ozuna, he breaks out and has a big game. I mean, look what he did that last series against the Brewers, man. He was wrecking them. Like he was Ralph. Remember that movie? That was a fun cartoon from a few years back. I just had moved here. I think there was a second one, too. What was it, John Riley? But, yeah. So, Pierce Johnson looked good. Baseball Hernandez looked decent. He did, up in some mop-up duty. Another guy that maybe gives the Braves some encouragement going forward. But it's one thing to do, in the regular season, but how much will they necessarily trust him, when it comes to, the World Series on the line? Yeah, we got to get through the playoffs to get there. But just saying, playoffs/World Series, that's, a different type of pressure situation. So I'm sure they, would like him to show them some things. But great start to his career. He's had a couple bumps in the road, but for the most part, it's looked pretty good. And he gave up 1 run in this one. The last run in the game, it was like an RBI by a new acquisition, C.J. Cron. Walked 1, struck out 1, gave up 2 hits. But could have been worse. So, you can't be perfect every time this early in your career. And speaking of, talking about those new additions, had, for the Braves, Pierce Johnson. Of course, we just got Nicky Lopez. Probably more changes on the way. In this game, the Angels' new additions were center stage. The other day, remember they just made that trade, and they got 2 good hitters from the Rockies. They got Grichuk, who I've had on my fantasy team at different points over the last couple years, so I know that he can occasionally go off. He hit one of those 3 solo homers off Charlie Morton. And then C.J. Cron, also coming over from the Rockies, has that RBI in the 9th inning off Daysbel Hernandez. So, two guys from that trade responsible for 2 RBIs in this game. And also, Reynaldo Lopez who was one of two pitchers they got in a trade with the Chicago White Sox, got the save. Their normal save guy, Estevez, who is actually on my fantasy team now, had threw like 34, 37 pitches the night before. So they want to be a little careful with him. Like, hey, Reynaldo Lopez, you've done this. Got his 5th save of the season. And one of their other new additions that came over in that trade with the White Sox as well was Lucas Giolito. And he will be making his 2nd start as a member of the Angels tomorrow to wrap up this series. Originally, it was scheduled to be Shohei Ohtani. They moved it back. I was kind of looking forward to that. I was like, damn, if he's pitching and hitting, I might have to make a trip. I'm still thinking about it. So that would throw off tomorrow's episode a little bit. I have to do it really quick, really early. But I am tempted to try to make my way up there. But I'll probably wait and see how I feel because it's, I believe, an afternoon game, like in the middle of the afternoon. So like I'd have to wake up pretty early for the 2.5-hour MARTA trip to the fucking stadium. So to be determined on that. So, but they will have Giolito on the mound for that. We will have Yanni Chirinos making also his 2nd start with the Braves. Wasn't sure like if he would. I figured he'd probably get one more shot at least to show he belongs in this rotation. But it's about to get a little more heated in that rotation because guess what? Alex Anthopoulos has let us know Max Fried's return is imminent. More than likely, they're saying Friday or Saturday. Saturday is the one that's undecided, listed on like probable pitchers on ESPN as of now. So I would assume Saturday at Wrigley Field, Max Fried returning to the mound. He'll get to face his old buddy Dansby fucking Swanson, who hopefully will have like one home run and a Cubs loss. Like 10-1. 10-1 Braves. And also, if you have not been to a game at Wrigley Field, do that shit. It's the only non-Braves Major League ballpark that I have had the pleasure, the opportunity to see a game in. I got to see the Cubs beat the Reds on a walk-off. Winning the game on a walk-off, and everybody just breaks out singing "Go Cubs Go" in unison. It was beautiful. And that just, as a guy that's like obsessed with history, sports nerd, baseball history, especially as a kid, I was reading everything. And most parks have been replaced. I mean, shit, the Braves have already replaced the 2nd park that I saw them in. I saw the Braves in Fulton County Stadium in '96 when Turner Field, now Georgia State Football Stadium, was still Olympic Stadium. So, like, stadiums change a lot. But Wrigley Field, over 100 years. Same with Fenway. That's why Fenway Park is on my list. I think it'd be really cool to do a trip to, like, Fenway Park, Springfield, Massachusetts, and Cooperstown, New York, like, all in one. Go to Baseball, Basketball Hall of Fame as well as seeing a game at Fenway. I'm also tempted to try to go see a game in Oakland. Next year will be the last game at Oakland Coliseum, potentially the last year ever for the Athletics in Oakland as they are primed to join the Oakland Raiders in Las fucking Vegas. I think they should give Vegas a new team instead, though, and keep the Athletics in Oakland. Let them help bring the city back. That's all I would think. Let's see. Kind of some surprises from this game before we move on from the abysmal offensive performance in this game for the Braves. The rare day where you got Ronald and Ozzie combining for 0 of 6. They each walked one, so they found their way on base at least once each. But you're not going to see that often where both of them are 0 for 3. It just must be a big game on the horizon. Acuna very rarely, especially, and Ozzie will do it sometimes, but Acuna very rarely is going to have back-to-back 0 for somethings. So he did a week or so ago, so probably not going to happen this time. And if he does, then he's probably going to go on another streak. Like, he's not going to do it a lot. It's going to happen sometimes over the course of a long-ass season, but just surprising to see both of them. Maybe they just, after such a great series against the Brewers, maybe just a little bit of a lull for the guys. Some other surprises. We already talked about Travis being 0-4. Eddie Rosario 0-4 with 2 strikeouts. Orlando Arcia, Michael Harris II, both 0-3 with a strikeout. So, man, they just had our number in this one. I think that's all it was. Maybe the pitching change shortly before the game threw them off, because I would assume probably coming into the game at first, you're focusing on this pitcher, and then you're like, oh, never mind, it's this pitcher actually, and we don't have time to prepare. Not as much, at least. But, yeah, excuses. But at least we kept Shohei Ohtani from a home run thanks to Michael Harris II. He was 2-3, had that intentional walk. But that's one reason Shohei, man, even though he's not pitching, I kind of want to go up there and see that tomorrow. But it's just the pitching matchup leaves something to be desired. It's like, oh, boy, Yanni, my favorite Braves pitcher. No offense, man. You're brand new, and I'm not sure if you're going to stick around in the rotation. But at the same time, hey, I hope he does great. Looked decent last time out. And today pitching, before we get to that, will be Spencer Strider taking on Pablo Sandoval, who has been pretty damn good. Not like record-wise necessarily for the Angels, but like he's pretty steady. Like historically, he's done pretty good for them. ERA just barely over Spencer's, not by a lot. It should be a good matchup, a good time for the Braves to not go on a losing streak, get a win here, and not lose the series just yet. And I was looking too at the record for the Braves. It's kind of interesting because obviously overall, the Braves have the best record in Major League Baseball, hitting 32 more homers than the next team. If I can get to here, see. They are, 67-37, 11 games up on the Phillies, 11 and a half games up on the Marlins. Those guys just switched places because the Marlins lost to the Phillies last night. So hopefully they'll just go back and forth in that series. But I am a little more scared of the Phillies than the Marlins. No offense to the Marlins. I shouldn't say that. They got Jazz Chisholm. They've got Jorge Soler. But there's something about the Phillies, man. I guess it's just historically the thorn in our side. Like 93, beating us when we were supposed to go back to the World Series. Last year, beating us when we were supposed to go back to the World Series. Both times as wild card. But hey, fuck the Phils, right? You know, with still some baseball left. They still can technically catch us. So the Braves do have 67 wins overall, 644 winning percentage. But here's the surprise. Like, they have struggled. Or not say struggled because they still have a winning record. They've not been anywhere near as good in interleague play against the American League as they are against the old circuit, the senior circuit, the National League, as they call it. They are only 21-20 against the American League this year, compared to 46-17 against the National League. If you break that down, 22-6 against our own division, the East. Awesome. 13-2 against the Central. Thank you, Brewers. Reds. Pirates, right? 11-9 versus the National League West. So the National League West and the American League in general, the Braves not having the same level of success, but some damn good teams in the American League. You're not necessarily as used to seeing them. I do love how they have it set up now, where every team plays every team every fucking year. Like, yeah, not always, you're only going to have like one series against some teams. So it'll be like, have to rotate. But that means every other year you have a chance, if you live in a major league city, to see every team, to see every player. Because it's not like basketball. You don't see quite as many like days. You see days off like basketball. But the fact that there always are series, I think, kind of makes up for that. Like where they have the 2 to 4 games, usually 3 games. So, like, if they're out one game, they're probably going to play in another one of them. So, at least hitter-wise, you're less likely to totally miss it unless you just go on the wrong night. And I still remember when interleague play was brand new. Like, now it's just like another game. And, it's really cool seeing them play the Angels, but really when it comes down to it, it's another game. We've gotten kind of spoiled and used to this. Like, I'm sure if you told a kid that had just started watching baseball in the last 10 years that they haven't always had interleague play, they'd be like, what? Why? But for years, they never played each other except for the World Series, except for the All-Star game. And then when they started doing it, it was on a very limited basis, and it was pretty much like, division-wise. Like you would play, like you were in the National League East, you play teams in the American League East. And a lot of times, at first especially, they'd set up sort of like the rivalry games, like Yankees, Mets, let's say Rangers, Astros, but they're in the same now. When I was a kid, those were different. That was different. The Brewers were an American League team, and the Astros were a National League team. That was the days of Robin Yount, Craig Counsell, now the manager for the Brewers. Can't think of any other Brewers off the top of my head. I know there's somebody I'm forgetting from back in that era. Those are the main two that come to mind. There's like one. Was it John Olerud? He was a Brewer, right? And a Blue Jay, probably a Yankee, but I feel like he was a Brewer at one point. And of course, Bud Selig was the owner before he became commissioner. And then, of course, the Astros back in the day, the Killer Bees, they called them, like the Wu-Tang of baseball. Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, whose son now plays for the Blue Jays. Oh, there's one other B I'm forgetting. Biggio and Bagwell. Forgetting something, man. I hate when I do that. Those were the big two. But there was maybe a Bell. There was not Albert Bell, but like another Bell, like Derek Bell or something. Then I remember they had Ken Caminiti, who could like crush the ball over at third base. Whenever I think Astros historically, they're gonna always think Nolan fucking Ryan. And then they had Joe Morgan back in the day when there was the Colt 45, 2 zigzags, baby, that's all you need. Something about the mall, blah, blah, blah. Smoke that tumbleweed. I don't know why I just had to like go into some Afro Man for you. So whenever I think of the Colt 45 team, I guess that's what we'll go with. So yeah, those were some fun times. The 90s watching baseball, man. Other than the strike, the one year Moises Alou and company was trying to do something with them Expos before they moved into Washington. Let's look around. Baltimore, still a game and a half over Tampa Bay in the American League East. And they are both on 2-game winning streaks, so good for them. Still 10 games up on the last place Yankees, who've lost a couple in a row. Boston, too. They're at the bottom. But they're still ahead. They're still ahead of the American League Central. The entire American League Central. The Twins are still first place despite having lost 5 in a row. Like nobody in the Central has a positive win differential in their last 10 games. The best is 5-5 by Cleveland. Like missing an opportunity to take the lead. They're still a game back, so they could catch up with the Twins any day. Then you got the Texas Rangers. I'm about to say the Texans. I'll have to change that. The Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. And it almost ties. The Astros are only half a game behind the Rangers. They won a game. The Rangers have lost 3 in a row. So they need to do something, man. It's been a fun team to watch so far this year down there in Texas. Already talked about the Braves lead over the Phillies and the Marlins. Of course, the Mets, 17.5 games back. Wonder if they will be getting the Luis Acuna in their lineup soon. They brought him over. That's pretty much all they got in that Max Scherzer trade, which kind of surprised me. But Ronald, get to see his brother more often, so that'll be cool for him. Cincinnati is a game and a half over them Brewers we were just talking about. The Brewers have lost 4 in a row, 7 of their last 10. The Reds have won a couple in a row, and they've won 7 of their last 10, so they've got that lead still. I would like to see the Reds with that get a series watching Ellie De La Cruz and company take care of business. Hopefully they get Hunter Green back so they can have like the hard throwing guy and the hard running guy all together. Dodgers are 2.5 games over the Giants. Both of them have lost 6 of their last 10. Giving someone else a chance to catch up, but nobody is. The Diamondbacks not looking good lately, even though they did win last night in extra innings. The Padres have won 6 of the last 10, but they are still 8.5 games out of first place. So we'll have to see, man. I think we're going to see some cool I would definitely expect to see some trades happen before it's all over. Still most of them probably going to come this afternoon, like in the lead up. But fun time for sports, man. Baseball, like hitting the groove, getting to go into August, which leads into September, October, and the World fucking Series, baby. So we are on that path. And then also, we're on another path. Football is about to kick off. It may only be preseason, but damn it, we got some NFL football at the Hall of Fame in Canton. The Hall of Fame game, Jets and Browns. Our first chance to see Aaron Rodgers in game action, sort of, with these Jets. But I wouldn't expect to see very much of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they might be like, hey, man, we need you out there just for TV purposes. But I wouldn't expect him to do more than one series. I mean, it's only the preseason. You don't hit by Myles Garrett too much. Or will Myles Garrett play too? That's the thing. All the hype of this being the first preseason game and how many guys are going to play. That'll be something to keep an eye on. But either way, it's still NFL football, even if it's backups. It's NFL football, training camp underway. Here, like every day, there's good stuff coming out about Bryce Young. Like he threw an interception and then completes the next 10 passes, getting chemistry with his receivers, whether that's the veterans they brought on, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, or the rookie they brought in with him, Jonathan Mingo. I think that connection is going to be very important for this team going forward, not just this year, but the whole future and everything. Like if him and Mingo can click and keep that continuity, could be great for a young guy, a rookie quarterback, having a rookie receiver that can make plays and keep the play alive, to come up with you as you grow together. I think that'll be really good. And then Frank Reich likes to use tight ends, so good chance for Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas, who have not really impressed in large batches so far in their careers. That's going to give them a chance. They got a guy like Hayden Hurst to learn from, who's been around, been there, done that. And we're definitely going to see more tight end involvement. Frank Reich likes to do that. And that's good, man. When the Panthers were at their best, they had a damn good tight end. And Greg Olson was one of the best in the game when he was with the Panthers. The connection him and Cam Newton had was the main reason for our success. He was the top receiver. We go from that to just not seem like they just didn't know what to do. I don't know if it was Matt Rule or just that these guys were young, but they just hadn't seemed to know what to do. And Frank Reich, with this incredible coaching staff, seems to know what to do. And we'll just keep an eye on that. And I'll try to talk more about football going forward. And I saw the Panthers did sign former Falcon Deion Jones, who was with the Browns last week. He got traded up to the Browns. And so that's another piece. Kind of was wanting an edge, but he does add to that inside linebacker depth. Definitely looking forward to, him, Frankie Louvu, Shaq Thompson, the combination of those three can do. Then, of course, Brian Burns moving to his new position, outside linebacker in the 3-4. And he seems excited, thinking he can show a different, a little more of his athleticism, a little more of his IQ, because there's a little more to work on at that level. It's not just charge, there's more to it usually. So maybe we'll see not just some sacks by Brian Burns, maybe we'll see some interceptions, baby. I think so. I'm predicting Brian Burns to have multiple interceptions in the 2023-2024 NFL season. Pay the man. Just do it, Panthers. You cannot let Brian Burns leave in free agency. Or don't even let him go to this year with the potential free agency. Give him the extension. Lock that dude up. His number has been changed to number 0. And that is because there is none like him. Period. Brian Burns is the future with the Carolina Panthers on the defensive side. Obviously, Bryce Young is the future because of all they gave up to get that number 1 pick and thus take him on top. I mean, I'm going to miss DJ Moore for damn sure. I think DJ Moore is going to have an awesome season. I think Justin Fields is about to keep that breakout going. Now he's got some receivers to throw the ball to, and he can still run the ball. Look out for the Bears. I believe the Bears have a very good chance of winning their division this year. They got to watch out for the Vikings. I wouldn't even worry about the Packers. Jordan Love was like tennis. It's a 0. And it comes to playoff chances. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. And look what Aaron Rodgers did after Brett Favre left. But I wouldn't count on it. Maybe I'm just a hater. But then, of course, I think the Lions are the favorite to win that division in the NFC North. But I think the Bears are like somebody to watch out for going forward. And I think the Panthers are, of course. You know, the NFC South is wide open. You got our quarterbacks now is like what? Desmond Ridder, Kyle Trask, and Derek Carr. Derek Carr is pretty damn good, but his teams aren't usually great, and maybe that's not his fault. The Raiders were, a shoddily run team at times in his time with the team, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be great when you get him in a different situation. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully it won't be great because I want the Panthers to beat the Saints twice this year. But no, I'm not saying I don't think this Panthers going to win a Super Bowl, but they can win the division. And like a Super Bowl is not like unfeasible in the future. Like maybe next year after that. But this year it'd be nice just to win the division, man. Just make the fucking playoffs. We were so close last year. We could have beat the Bucks. But having said all that, I'm pretty much done. Short one today. Gotta, slowly get ready for work. Maybe take a nap. We'll see how I feel. I've got enough time to do that, but probably not. Since I've already had my coffee. Probably gonna stay awake. But, hey, man, check back tomorrow. One way or another, we'll talk about the Braves. Hopefully be a little more positive Braves episode. Because if we lose, we're like 500 against the American League. And I don't like that. I want to see us improve that record. Because wins are wins, baby. And eventually I will make my way up there for a game. It's just a trick, y'all. Getting up there. But, hey, I hope y'all have a great day. Like I said, come in tomorrow. I'll tell you how I feel about tonight's Braves game. Spencer Strider, double-digit strikeouts. Probably. I think so. And hopefully this time it's a win. But come back, listen to me more. Or don't. But I'd really like it if you did. They'd be like, or like Matt Nothing, kind of, it'd be really cool if you did. But y'all, I'm out of here, man. I'm going to go do something and post this. That'll probably take an hour by the time I figure out how to do a video of it. But y'all have a great day. Come back for more of your favorite new favorite podcast tomorrow. Available on Spotify and a lot of times on YouTube. No, it's not like video, but close enough, man. I'm cheating for now until I really feel like doing videos. But I hope y'all have a great day. I hope y'all come back and listen to more Babbling Brooks tomorrow. But peace out.